For years, PlayStation fans have always asked the same question: what the heck is their main mascot? You see, like Nintendo, PlayStation has had a slew of original characters that have become icons in the gaming world. But PlayStation has never really been specific on what their main mascot is. While Nintendo has Mario and Microsoft has Master Chief, Sony has, I guess, any major character that has spawned multiple PlayStation consoles. I mean, we already have a dragon, a bandicoot, a raccoon, an elf with an outcell. I mean, you just have to name it. And while it is debatable on who the mascot is, one character has become a Sony icon since his first game on the PlayStation 2. And that name is Ratchet and Clank. Since 2002, Ratchet the Lombax and his robot friend Clank have been the modern 3D platforming mascot for Sony and developer Insomniac Games' most successful property. You see, during the run of the original PlayStation, Insomniac's first major success came in the form of Spyro the Dragon. However, like what Naughty Dog did with Crash Bandicoot, Insomniac parted ways with the Purple Dragon and decided to move forward and work out programming and come out with a new IP on the brand new PlayStation 2 back in the day. So Insomniac Games worked undercover for years to develop its most impressive new 3D platformer back in 2002 as Ratchet and Clank, a hybrid game involving an arsenal of weapons and a big bag of bolts for currency. While players play through a series of platform-style missions, they're meant to attack, arm, and defend themselves by different means necessary, which is where the game stands out most from the system's other big platformer at that time, Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Insomniac's generation debut in that time was a natural progression of the 3D platform genre, gleaning elements from many games before it, including its own Spyro the Dragon, as well as Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, and lots from Super Mario 64, tidy little bit. Bye-bye! In many ways, it closely resembles bits and pieces of those games, while branching out into slightly new territory. And that's the big point, really, isn't it? We would buy these new systems back in that day to experience something different and new, and Insomniac's game delivers a comfortable combination of familiar gameplay elements and a few new ways of playing the game. It wasn't revolutionary back in the day, but comparing the game that started the franchise until now, let's say that it aged well, but not in the best way. The game's story overall is pretty simple. Ratchet, a mechanic Lombax who's busy working on his own spaceship, when all of a sudden a ship falls from the sky and crashes into his home planet of Velden, containing some sort of robot inside. You see, this robot is a defective built by Chairman Drek. The robot finds out what Drek is plotting with an army of deadly robots and tries to escape, soon crashing down to the planet, where after some exploring, Ratchet finds out the so-called robot.
Interesting.
Once the robot wakes up after passing out, the robot, later nicknamed by Ratchet as Clank, tells him all of Chairman Drek's plans. What are those plans, you ask?
Guess what, Sonic Heroes?
Harvesting parts of different planets so we can support this race the Blargs to create the perfect planet to live on. And so, Ratchet agrees to help, and their adventures start right there from the point. What's interesting here is that each character has slightly different ambitions and reactions to the obstacles in their way. The young buck Ratchet wants to kick some evil tyrannical butt, but also desires adventure, coolness, and perhaps a little glory. And not necessarily in that order. Clank, on the other way, is more virtuous, innocent, and logical, but is determined to play by the rules and save the galaxy. So while Ratchet carries Clank on his back, they are not always in agreement. The two often argue with each other, dissing each other, and occasionally wander on their own. Like Banjo-Kazooie, Rare's platform duo, players get to play as both characters. but in this case, they get to play as Ratchet and Clank entirely on their own, unlike Jak and Daxter where you only played as Jak. Ratchet can perform various moves. The basic moves consist of walk, run, swim, jump and double jump, hanging, shimmy, and sideways jump. With Ratchet's wrench, the game's default tool, he can hit enemies in front of him, jump to perform a jump attack, and can throw it out like a boomerang.
Bonza!
And Ratchet never loses the ability to use the wrench. At least that's a good thing. Clank is pretty useful at first, but as players progresses, the two buy parts to modify and improvise Clank's abilities. After only 2 levels, by purchasing an upgrade in Owl's RoboShack, Clank provides players with a helipack upgrade, enabling you to do long jumps and high jumps, exactly like those found in Super Mario 64. Later on, that becomes a jetpack upgrade, and so forth. After some levels, players find that they're loaded with weapons and gadgets, modifications and whatnot, enabling both Ratchet and Clank some extraordinary and highly entertaining moves. But controlling Clank is a little bit more challenging. He's smaller and less agile, and taking him out on narrow bridges is quite a little bit of challenge. I mean, the guy is too big for short bridges. I mean, come on. But it's nothing too hard, nonetheless. He doesn't have all the abilities Ratchet does, but in almost all of the Clank levels, players are given a set of abilities unique to Clank. By freeing these little robots that are scattered about his own levels, he can command them to follow, attack, wait, and enter. Progressing through these missions is fun, since the bots are cute and funny to watch, and they're also unlimited. So you can send them to fight a beast 5 times their size, and they will run in bravely without flinching. If one dies, another one replaces it. Clank's levels are filled with puzzles that use these little guys, providing an immense amount of entertainment. I mean, just look at these guys, they look so cute.
Give me chicken nuggets!
While Ratchet is by no means an original character, his set of weapons is indeed unusual, and the weapon abilities often make up in innovative ways for his lack of charisma. The weapons are seamlessly endless, with standard guns to flamethrowers to bombs, cannons, you just name it. The guy is a freaking army. And nearly all of them are larger in size than Ratchet, which adds a funny little quirk to the game's look. While it may seem that there are too many weapons, and that many might overlap one another, many levels are designed for specific weapons, such as the Hydrosplasser and its ability to solve water puzzles by sucking and spitting up water, the Trespasser, which enables players to unlock security-tight doors, and the Swing Shot, which is ability to swing from point to point. But all the locales are open for debate. Should you use the Parasiter or the Blaster to take out the Sand Sharks, Toads, or Robotic Dogs? Should you use the Decoy Glove, the Taunter, or even the Glove of Doom to dispatch others? It's all up to you. That's a distinct pleasure, finding and then experimenting with each new weapon or gadget, analyzing which one works best in each new location. Gadgets such as the Magna Boots provides a great thrill as you walk upside down or even sideways, while the Grind Boots provide a feeling similar to riding a skateboard, or even trying to be an edgy hedgehog. Bolstering the concept of multiple useful weapons is the need to get more. As the game progresses, players need more powerful tools to defeat even greater enemies. And no, you can't just simply burst through harder levels with smaller weapons. You might be able to, but only with serious consequences. And believe me, you don't want those consequences. Ratchet and Clank isn't a difficult game at first. It sounds out pretty easy, so you'll cover a lot of ground quickly. But later on the game, the difficulty really picks it up, though it sometimes becomes difficult or unfair in some cases. When you run out of health, you quickly respawn at the last checkpoint you crossed. Checkpoints aren't actually visible, but they're not exactly in good spots, since sometimes it will take you to the beginning of the level, so you have your work cut out around that. The game is also a lot longer than you might have come to expect from games of this type. This game spends a lot of time leading up to its final confrontation, and it tosses in a few extra levels and quests while you're hot on the trail of the game's lead antagonists. Overall, it's longer than many similar platformers, yet the game doesn't feel artificially lengthed by late game fetch quests. There are optional items to be found in the game such as gold bolts and skill points, and finishing the game will allow you to play through again and unlock special items. While Ratchet and Clank isn't the best platformer out there, it does deliver on the basics and good level design. The stages are fun to track through, the guns are unique, wacky, and funny sometimes, and it's really fun to blow all your enemies up in sight. The extra goals such as grinding works pretty well too, however Insomniac failed to set this game that much apart from Spyro in terms of control and music and sound effects. The story could have also used a little bit more depth and more character development to some of the characters that we encounter throughout the game, including the duo of this game. Overall, it's a good game that shouldn't be missed if you like Spyro or platformers in general. It's also the beginning of the series that shows promise. So next thing, we have to go commando on the next time.
Turn it off! Turn it off!